How many of you are actually interested or have already begun looking at graduate programs? And of those of you that are looking at grad schools, how many are looking at programs in either the life sciences or physical sciences? Engineering? Arts and humanities? Social sciences, psychology, education, social work, and business.
Music, art.
Do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Robin Audas. I'm the Associate Director of Graduate Admissions at the University of Southern Maine. And just to give you a little background on myself and my background with graduate education, I've been working in the grad office for the last 6 years at USM. And prior to that, I was a graduate student. Coming to it after I had done my undergrad right out of high school, then took a break partway through it, a 14-year break, partway through. So I came back to school as a non-traditional student at the undergrad level, got hired at the university, began doing some work in academic advising, that type of thing, led to a need for me to get a graduate degree. So I did a master's degree, a master of science degree in adult education with concentrations in student affairs and higher ed and counseling. So that's kind of my background with grad.
And then I came to the graduate school so in a very twisted, attorney route. I've been in the grad school at the University of Maine for 12 years now. Got my bachelor's degree from Colby and in biology. And at the time I was at Colby, I was really looking mostly at med schools. Wasn't even really considering grad schools until I had an opportunity to get involved with a research project with one of the faculty members in the biology department when I was a junior. And had such a positive experience that really turned my attention towards grad schools. And I ended up applying to both med schools and grad schools. But ultimately, when senior year came around, ended up choosing grad school and went to Penn State and got my degree in molecular biology and genetics from Penn State. Took a position at the University of Maine as a research scientist and worked for the first 9 years I was there as a researcher. And just ultimately, through working with students in the biochemistry and molecular biology department where I was, became more involved in student affairs, went back to grad school and got a second graduate degree in higher ed and student personnel. That ultimately led to the position that I have in grad school now. The reason we told you this is that as you're exploring this career path, it's important to gather information, but don't feel like you're locking yourself into any particular career that you're going to find over the course of your lifetime. That things in your interest will tend to change.
So, I guess one of the things we want to start with, following along on this green sheet that some of you have, is how is graduate school different from undergrad? And it's really important, especially as you go to look into graduate programs, that you understand that there is a vast difference in the graduate paradigm to the undergraduate paradigm. In undergrad, when you were making your application, likely you sent all your materials to the admissions office, and it would be professional staff in that admissions office at the undergrad institution that would make the decisions about whether or not you were to gain entrance into that institution. At the graduate level, that's a little different. There may be a main office, for instance, at USM, it's the grad studies office, grad admissions. At UMaine, it's the grad school, the graduate school. And you would send your application materials there. However, we're not the people who are making the decision about whether or not you get into a certain program. And when the other piece of that is that when you apply, you are applying to a program at an institution, not an institution. And that's a real important difference. It's not, you can't change majors at the graduate level the way you can at the undergrad level. So what that means is that your applications are going to be very program specific, and because of that, you're going to hear us say, as Scott mentioned, you're going to hear us say a lot, it depends. What the requirements are going to be dependent upon the institution and the program at the institution. They're going to vary according to the discipline of the graduate program that you're applying towards, and that type of thing. It's the faculty in the program that you're applying to that are going to make the recommendation about whether or not you get into that program. And you'll notice one of the things we have there is called the club. We say that because really what you're doing is making application to a discipline that people have devoted their lives to. And so to that end, if you think about it sort of as a club mentality, you want to be a member of the club. You want to be a member of the stewards of that discipline. And so to that end, you really need to be showing that you have a passion for it, an interest for it, an ability to add to the knowledge base and to be a colleague, an effective colleague in that discipline. So everything that you do is going to be couched around that model.
So and we'll get towards the end of the presentation, we'll talk about the nuts and bolts of what makes the competitive graduate application, but that point that the decision process is a faculty-centered process as opposed to centered in the admissions office as it is at the undergraduate level is really critical in terms of how you construct that application. The readership of that application, the people that are going to be analyzing it and making a decision about it are the faculty in the program that you're applying to. Robin mentioned the club, the stewards of this one. Graduate education in the United States is really based on a German research model. Some of you that have had world history or European history may have covered that. But it's very much, particularly at the doctoral level, in research programs, modeled after the master apprentice model, where the students applying to a grad program are the apprentices, and they're signing on to work with a faculty member or a group of faculty members that are the masters in that discipline. And through the course of their graduate study, the student acquires the knowledge that they need to become a master in the discipline from the program themselves. And so getting into a grad program in many respects is almost like a job interview. You're really trying to sell yourself and your particular capabilities and attributes to the faculty in the graduate program you're applying to.